I wasn't supposed to be home that early. But when your client cancels last minute and your boss gives you the green light to clock out, you don't complain. You take it as a sign to surprise your wife. I parked 2 blocks away. Not because I was suspicious, just instinct. Or maybe something darker in my gut. I remember laughing at myself, saying, "Relax, Nate. You're being dramatic." I even picked up her favorite tiramisu on the way. As I climbed the front steps, I noticed her heels, those tall red ones she only wore on special nights, thrown beside the door. She never left shoes there. Ever. She was obsessively neat. That's when my pulse skipped. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open slow, quiet. The living room was clean. Music played from upstairs, some sensual R&B crap she usually only plays when she's setting a mood. My first thought was maybe she was planning a surprise for me. Then I heard it. Not moaning. That would have been too obvious. I heard laughing. Her laugh. And a deeper, unfamiliar voice responding. Then the unmistakable rhythm of bodies moving in a way that no married man ever wants to hear from upstairs. I froze. Tiramisu still in my hand. My knuckles turned white around the box. Every logical part of me told me to leave. Don't go up. Walk away. Call her later. Maybe it's not what it sounds like. But another part, something primal, dragged me forward. The stairs creaked beneath my weight like traitors. My breath was uneven, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The door to our bedroom was half shut. I didn't even need to push it open all the way. I saw enough through the gap. Her bare back, those red heels in the air. Him, some gym-built guy with sleeve tattoos and a smirk like he knew he was destroying something that didn't belong to him. And they were tangled together in a mess of sweat and sheets. Like animals. I dropped the dessert. It hit the hardwood with a thud and a soft splatter. But that wasn't the sound that broke them apart. It was my voice. "So this is what you meant by working from home, huh, Haley?" She shrieked like she'd seen a ghost, yanked the covers around herself, and tried to sit up like the act wasn't already done. The guy didn't even flinch, just casually reached for his jeans like he was in his own damn house. Haley stared at me. Her face wasn't even red. Not guilt, not embarrassment, just annoyance. "Nathan," she said, rolling her eyes. "You weren't supposed to be here." I didn't know whether to laugh or flip the dresser. "No sh*T. She stood, half covered in the sheet like she was in some B-list soap opera, and gave me that face. Her "calm down, you're overreacting" face. "Look," she started, brushing her blonde hair back, like we were going to have a normal married couple conversation. "We've talked about this. I told you I needed space. I told you I wanted something more open." "No," I growled. "You said you needed time. You said you were emotionally overwhelmed. You said you were figuring yourself out. You didn't say anything about this." She tilted her head like I was a slow student. "Nathan, we have an open marriage. This isn't cheating. You should actually be grateful I'm still your wife." That line hit harder than anything I'd ever felt. "Grateful," I repeated. "Grateful that my wife is getting railed in my bed by someone who probably can't spell monogamy?" The guy finally chimed in. "Hey man," she said. It was cool. "Chill out." I lunged before I realized it, but Haley jumped in front like she was protecting a puppy. "You're acting like a psycho. Maybe if you were more of a man, I wouldn't need this." That stopped me. Everything stopped. The room went silent, except for the blood pounding in my ears. I stepped back, looked around. The bed where we said our vows meant something. The framed photo of our wedding still hanging above it. The nightstand drawer where I once hid anniversary cards. All of it a lie. She didn't even care. No tears. No apology. Just a woman who'd already rewritten the rules without telling me. And expected me to be grateful. That's when I knew. Something inside me cracked. But not in the way you'd expect. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was something quieter. Colder. I didn't scream. I didn't hit anything. I just looked at her one more time, memorized the disgustingly calm expression on her face, and walked out the door. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. I didn't go home that night. Well, technically, I left the house, but I didn't feel like I had a home anymore. I drove aimlessly for hours. At one point, I realized I had been looping the same block downtown, engine humming while I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel like it could stop my world from collapsing. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but it felt like even my emotions were in shock. Like they had short-circuited and left me with nothing but this hollow, burning pit in my chest. I was angry, sure, but more than anything, I was humiliated. That word kept bouncing around my skull. I'd been loyal. Boringly loyal, maybe. I didn't flirt at bars. I never stayed out too late. I brought flowers on Thursdays just because I thought she liked surprises. And all this time, this woman, Haley, was turning our bedroom into a discount motel. The audacity of it. The casualness. That look on her face like I was the problem. I ended up at a 24-hour diner. Sat in the far corner with a cup of coffee that tasted like burnt regret. My phone buzzed. It was her. Not a call. A text. Like I didn't deserve a real conversation. I think we should talk tomorrow when you're calmer. I didn't mean for you to find out that way. I read it again. And again. Didn't mean for me to find out that way. Like I'd interrupted a goddamn business meeting. Like her mistake wasn't the betrayal, just the timing of my arrival. I didn't reply. Instead, I scrolled back through our messages. Birthdays. Memes. Photos of her smiling, making pancakes in my t-shirt. Lies. All of it. Retrospect has a cruel lens. It turns nostalgia into evidence. I eventually booked a motel. Didn't sleep much. Just laid there staring at the popcorn ceiling, wondering how long it had been going on. Wondering how many men there were. Wondering how I missed it. The next morning, I went back to the house, not to confront her again, but to see what else she'd hidden from me. She wasn't home. I took my time. I opened drawers. Searched through her closet. Looked under the bed. And that's when I found it. A black shoebox behind the stack of old sweaters. Inside, a burner phone. My stomach dropped. Photos. Videos. Conversations. She'd been documenting everything. From different hotel rooms, in different cities. One guy called her his road wife. Another asked her if her loser husband ever suspected. There were timestamps. This had been going on for over a year. AF *** King year. She wasn't just cheating. She was living a double life. And I was the prop in her charade. The husband she kept around for stability while she played out her fantasy version of 50 Shades in the shadows. The front door clicked. She walked in humming, holding a smoothie like she just finished yoga. She didn't see me at first. When she did, she jumped. Nathan. Jesus, you scared me. I held up the phone. She froze. Where did you get that? I didn't answer. I just let her read the look on my face. Her eyes narrowed. You went through my stuff? She asked, like I was the one who crossed the line. That's what you're focusing on right now. I asked, voice calm in a way that scared even me. She sighed. Look, I told you this isn't cheating. We're not in the 50s, Nate. People explore. I deserve to explore. You were never enough. But I was willing to settle because I thought you were safe. Turns out you're just possessive. I blinked. Possessive? Yes, she said, crossing her arms. You think just because we're married you own me? Newsflash, I'm not your property. I'm a woman. With needs. You said we had an open marriage, I said. When? When did you say that? Because I sure as hell don't remember the conversation where I agreed to you screwing half the state behind my back. She actually rolled her eyes. Ugh. It's not my fault you're emotionally unavailable. You've been boring, Nate. Predictable. Do you know how suffocating it is to live with someone who always plays it safe? I laughed. Just once. A bitter, sharp sound. So your solution was to turn our marriage into a carnival? Without telling me. Grow up, she snapped. I stayed because I pitied you. That was it. The last crack in my composure. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I walked over to the bedroom, grabbed my suitcase, and started packing. She watched, not saying a word. Maybe she expected me to beg. Maybe she wanted me to scream. But I gave her nothing. At the door, I turned to her. You don't get to rewrite the rules and then call me crazy for not playing along. She smirked. Bye, Nathan. Don't forget your pride. And I walked out, suitcase in one hand, a box of truth in the other, my heart finally going cold. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. The first night away from her was quiet. Too quiet. You'd think after discovering something like that, catching your wife mid-act, hearing her say words that carved through your chest like a jagged blade, you'd fall apart. But I didn't. Not right away. I just sat in a cheap motel room, fully clothed on top of the covers, staring at the dark ceiling, and letting the silence scream louder than my thoughts. I didn't want to call anyone. Not my brother, not my best friend, not even my old college roommate who'd always hated her from the start. I wasn't ready for the told you so. I wasn't ready for the pity in their voices. I wasn't ready for anything that sounded like sympathy, because sympathy would make it real. Instead, I went back through the burner phone. I don't know why. Maybe I was looking for something, some explanation, some sign, some moment when she'd started becoming this woman I didn't know. Maybe I was just torturing myself. There were texts from 4 different men. Photos. Explicit conversations. One of them, some guy named Brock, of course it was Brock, had even called her his queen of chaos. She liked that. She said she liked destroying control freaks. I think that one was about me. Then there was a video I hadn't noticed the first time. It was a short clip. A selfie-style video of her in the mirror, still buttoning up her blouse. She blew a kiss to the camera and said, "Heading back to the boring husband now. Gotta pretend to be a wife for a few hours." I watched that one twice. The first time, I just stared. The second time, I noticed the timestamp. That was our anniversary. I had taken her to that vineyard she always talked about. Got us a private tour. She said it was one of the best weekends of her life. She even cried during dinner and told me how lucky she was. And the whole time, she was sending videos to some clown who probably couldn't spell the word commitment. That's when something in me snapped. Not loudly, not violently, just permanently. I wasn't going back. That much was clear. But I also wasn't going to let her skip away like nothing happened. I had been silent too long, calm too often, naive for too damn many years. And now, I had her lies, her words, her own recordings. My marriage wasn't a memory anymore. It was a case file. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "Are you sure?" he asked, after I told him everything. "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm not even surprised anymore. I'm just done, and I want to walk away with my name clean." He told me to keep the phone, download everything, back it up. We'd use it if she tried to play dirty. And she would. I knew Haley. She wouldn't take this silently. Her ego wouldn't let her. She'd spin the story like she always did. She'd become the victim, the neglected wife, the trapped bird, the misunderstood soul who had no choice but to find comfort elsewhere. Sure enough, 3 days later, she showed up at my job. In a tight black dress, sunglasses, crocodile tears ready to go. "Nate," she said loudly in the parking lot. "Can we please talk?" My coworkers were watching. I motioned her to the side, to the corner where nobody could hear us. "You're making a scene," I said. "You just left?" she hissed, suddenly dropping the fake sadness. "You didn't even give me a chance to explain." "You explained enough," I said. "With your body. With that camera. With that pathetic excuse of a text." Her jaw clenched. "You're blowing this out of proportion." "No, Haley," I said, stepping closer. "You blew our marriage up. I'm just watching the fallout." She crossed her arms. "So what now? You're gonna make me look like a whore in front of everyone." "I don't have to make you look like anything. You already did that yourself." She slapped me, right there in the parking lot. Like a true actress, she gasped after and whispered, "You made me do that." I didn't even flinch. I just stared at her, calm, collected. And I said the one thing that finally cracked her mask. "I'm filing. You'll get the papers soon. And Haley, I'm keeping everything. The house, the dog, the car, the memories. You can have those. I don't want them anymore." She opened her mouth to argue, to scream, maybe to cry. But I didn't wait to hear it. I turned and walked back inside. I didn't look back. Because once you see someone for what they really are, you never want to see them again. I thought walking away would feel like a victory. Like finally breaking free from a prison I didn't even know I was locked in. But the truth is, even when you leave the cell, the weight of it doesn't just fall off. It follows you for a while. People started asking questions. Coworkers, friends, even my mother. They all noticed the change in me. Quieter, more withdrawn, a little meaner around the edges. I wasn't the nice guy anymore. I was the guy who didn't smile at meetings, who didn't come out for drinks, who ignored texts. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I was just trying to breathe without drowning in the bitterness left behind by a woman I once called my wife. Haley didn't disappear. Of course not. She started posting more on social media. Photos of her healing journey, yoga poses, artsy captions about growth, self-love, energy, freedom. She was rebranding herself. From adulterous narcissist to misunderstood goddess. She even posted a black and white photo of us from our wedding with a caption that read, "Love is complicated. Sometimes two souls must part to find themselves again." The comments made me sick. "You're so strong. Sending you light. You deserve to be happy." Nobody knew. Nobody wanted to know. That's the thing about lies. They're prettier than truth. Easier to accept. She was a master at it. She didn't just lie with words. She lied with grace, with posture, with tears that fell on cue. You'd believe her if you didn't know better. Hell, I did. One night, a message popped up on my phone. It was from one of the guys in the videos. His name was Caleb. Generic, Jim Harden jawline, no neck, baseball cap turned backwards in every photo. Hey man, I didn't know she was married. Just wanted you to know that. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I wrote back. She told you we had an open marriage, didn't she? He replied a second later. Yeah, she said you knew. Said you had another girlfriend and didn't want to go public yet. Said you were insecure. I laughed out loud. A bitter, exhausted sound. I could have guessed it, but hearing it confirmed made something inside me sink just a little deeper. She wasn't just reckless, she was strategic. She covered her tracks by painting me as weak, silent, invisible. She didn't just cheat. She erased me. Caleb offered to testify if it came to court. I thanked him, but told him I didn't need it. I already had more than enough. And then, as if life wanted to twist the knife one more time, I ran into her at the grocery store. It had been about a month since I left. I was picking up something simple, frozen meals, maybe. I hadn't cooked a real meal since walking out. Haley looked the same. Perfect makeup, fake serenity, fake sadness behind those hazel eyes. Nathan, she said, like we were old friends. How are you holding up? Better than you expected, I said without looking up from the freezer door. She smiled. You've always been strong. That's one thing I admired. You admired? I repeated. Before or after the hotel rooms? She looked around, nervous, not because she felt guilt, but because public confrontation made her uncomfortable. She liked drama in private, where she could control it. I know I hurt you, she said, but I didn't do it to destroy you. I needed something else, something more. I finally looked at her. You didn't destroy me, Haley. You exposed yourself. There's a difference. She blinked. I kept going. And for the record, I don't hate you. I hate what you turned me into. I hate the version of me that stayed long after I should have left. Her eyes flickered. Not tears, just calculation. She was gauging how much damage control she'd need to do. Maybe she thought this was her moment to rewrite the ending. But I wasn't giving her the pen. I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't wait for her response. Just walked out into the parking lot, breathing in the cold air like it was something sacred, like it was finally mine. Later that night, I sat in my apartment, half-furnished, a little dusty, quiet in a way that didn't feel lonely anymore. I looked around and realized something. This silence. It didn't scream anymore. It felt like peace. A week later, the divorce papers were officially filed. My lawyer said it was one of the easiest cases he'd ever handled, thanks to the mountain of ammunition I had. He didn't even need to bluff. The moment Haley's attorney saw the videos, the screenshots, the texts, she folded. No contest. No claims to the house. No fights over the dog. She wanted to keep things civil, which meant she knew there was no way to win. And still, she couldn't help herself. The night after she signed, she called me. Blocked number. I answered without thinking. Why'd you have to make it ugly, she said. No hello. No apology. Just straight into it. As if I was the villain. I didn't make it ugly, Haley. You did. I just turned on the lights. She exhaled like I'd exhausted her. Like I was the drama. You used to be kind. I used to be married. Silence. Then she softened her tone. That fake, sweet voice she used to pull out when she wanted something. I wish things had been different. They were different, I said. You just wanted more. You'll find someone, she said. You're not as broken as you think. I almost laughed. It wasn't the worst thing she'd ever said to me, but for some reason, it landed wrong. Like a slap disguised as a kiss. She hung up without waiting for me to reply. I sat there with the phone still against my ear, realizing for the first time, she never really listened. Not to what I said, not to what I felt. She just played roles. And I'd been her longest-running co-star. After that, I blocked her. Not out of spite, out of necessity. Healing doesn't come when the wound keeps calling you at midnight. But healing that took time. More than I expected. It didn't come in waves, it came in moments. Small, forgettable moments that built something real. The first night, I slept without waking up thinking she was beside me. The first time I walked into a store and didn't picture her picking out the cereal. The first time a woman smiled at me in line at the bank, and I didn't feel like damaged goods. I started working out again. Not for revenge. Not to win the breakup. Just because I wanted to feel strong again, like myself. I read books. Cleaned the apartment. Took the dog on longer walks. Let silence sit with me, not haunt me. Then, one night, I found myself standing in front of a mirror. Not flexing, not rehearsing, just looking. And I saw me. Not the version she manipulated. Not the man who bent over backward trying to keep her interested. Just me. A little bruised, sure. But still standing. Still breathing. Still here. A friend invited me to a party a few weeks later. I almost didn't go, but I figured, why not? I wasn't hiding anymore. And besides, there was nothing left to be ashamed of. I'd survived something most men don't talk about. I'd loved someone who didn't deserve it, and I'd come out cleaner on the other side. That night, I met someone. Her name was Emily. Brown hair, warm eyes, the kind of smile that made you feel like you were allowed to start over. We didn't talk about exes. Not that night. We talked about music, coffee, stupid things, things that felt light. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to explain myself. I just existed. And she seemed to like that version of me. The quiet one, the real one, the one I'd buried under years of trying to be someone else for someone who didn't care. We exchanged numbers. I didn't rush. I didn't fantasize about the future. I just walked away feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. A quiet, flickering hope. And maybe that's the thing no one tells you. Betrayal breaks you in places you didn't know could crack, but it also shows you who you are beneath the wreckage. The version of you that still wants to fight, to feel, to live, to love again, not blindly, not desperately, but fully, and only when it's right. Because now, I know what I won't accept, and what I deserve. A few months passed. Life, somehow, kept moving forward. There were days where I felt like I was running to catch up with it, tripping over old memories, haunted by echoes of her voice. And then there were days where I didn't think of Haley at all. Not once. And those were the days I started living again. I'd see couples walking in the park, holding hands, laughing at nothing. And instead of feeling bitterness, I'd feel this strange, quiet peace. Because now, I understood something I didn't back then. Not every smile is honest, and not every hand held is sacred. Some people hold hands while hiding knives behind their backs. Emily and I started texting more. Casual. Easy. No pressure. She didn't ask too many questions, and I didn't feel the need to overshare. We just connected. Like two people who had learned the hard way how valuable honesty is. One night, we went for coffee. Nothing fancy. She wore a hoodie and minimal makeup, and somehow, she looked more beautiful than Haley ever did in her high heels and contour. I like this, she said, sipping her drink. This? She smiled. You. Just being here. No act. No trying too hard. You're calm. Real. I didn't know how to respond at first. Compliments felt foreign to me. I'd spent so long being either ignored or manipulated, I'd forgotten what genuine kindness sounded like. I'm still putting myself back together, I said. That's okay, she replied. Sometimes broken things come back sharper. That hit me harder than it should have. We didn't kiss that night. No dramatic ending. Just a soft, unspoken understanding that something good had started. And for once, I wasn't afraid of good things anymore. Then, out of nowhere, Haley resurfaced. Not in person, online. She posted some long, performative caption about forgiveness. About acknowledging the damage she caused. About allowing space for redemption and growth. It was vague enough to make people feel sorry for her, but anyone who knew the truth could see it for what it was, damage control. The real kicker? She tagged me, like I was a co-star in her redemption arc. My phone lit up with messages. Did you see what Haley posted? Bro, is she serious? One of my friends called it her Oscar moment, but I didn't respond. Not publicly, not privately. I let her scream into the digital void. Because silence, I'd learned, is sometimes the loudest reply. She tried again a few days later. Sent me a message. I miss our talks. You were my best friend. I stared at it and deleted it. Because no, I wasn't her best friend. I was her shield, her excuse, her backup plan, her audience. And I wasn't playing that part anymore. That was the final thread. It didn't snap. It just unraveled. Clean. And with it gone, I felt something I hadn't felt since the beginning. Freedom. Real, actual freedom. Not the kind she pretended to chase while lying and sneaking around, but the kind you earn when you walk through fire and come out still breathing. I started writing again. Just little things. Journals. Notes. Sometimes poetry that would make no sense to anyone but me. It helped. Getting the pain out. Giving it a name. Making it something I could put on paper and leave there instead of dragging it around inside. One night, I wrote this line. She told me I should be grateful she stayed. But I should have left the moment I had to be grateful for basic decency. I read it 3 times. Then I closed the notebook, and I slept like a man who knew exactly who he was, and exactly what he would never tolerate again. Haley was gone. Not just physically, but out of my system. Out of my future. No more shadow in my bed. No more ghost in my conversations. Just gone. And in her place? A man with scars. But stronger for them. Emily, and I didn't become a fairy tale. Not right away. There were no fireworks, no whirlwind romance, no dramatic declarations under the ring. It was slower than that, quieter, and honestly, better for it. I wasn't ready to love someone with reckless abandon. I wasn't ready to leap headfirst into something new, not after the wreckage I'd crawled out of. But she didn't ask for all of me. Not at once. She gave me space, time, laughed at my dry jokes, sent texts just to check in, and when I told her I was still healing, she didn't flinch. "I'm not here to fix you," she said one night. "I'm here if you want someone beside you while you fix yourself." That line stuck, because Haley had always made love transactional. Perform, obey, give, 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 and maybe you'd earn a breadcrumb of affection. But Emily? She didn't measure affection like currency. It was just there. Still, the damage Haley left behind didn't just vanish. I'd be lying if I said there weren't moments where doubt whispered in the back of my mind. One night, I caught myself asking Emily where she'd been, not out of curiosity, but suspicion. She noticed. "Do you think I'm lying?" she asked, gently but firmly. I didn't answer, because in that moment, I wasn't seeing her. I was seeing Haley, slipping off those red heels and spinning a lie while brushing lipstick from her neck. Emily didn't snap. She just sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, "You're allowed to feel whatever you feel, but don't punish me for what she did. I'm not her. And I never will be." And she wasn't. That was the difference. I apologized. Not because I was wrong to feel, because I was wrong to let the past drive my present. Over time, I started trusting again. Not in some blind, naive way, but piece by piece. I learned to read silence without assuming betrayal hid behind it. I learned that not every late reply meant secrets. That sometimes, people are just human. And more importantly, I learned to trust myself. Because the truth is, the worst thing Haley ever did wasn't just cheating. It was making me doubt my instincts. Making me second-guess everything I felt, saw, heard. That kind of manipulation stays with you. But now, when something felt wrong, I didn't bury it. I faced it, spoke it, dealt with it. Emily and I started spending weekends together. Walks, movies, cooking dinner instead of ordering takeout. One night, she stayed over. Not because of any big step, but because it felt right. Natural. We laid there. No rush, no pressure. Just her head on my chest, her fingers tracing circles on my arm. "Do you ever think about her?" she asked softly. I didn't lie. Sometimes. Not in the way I used to. Not because I miss her, but because she taught me what I'll never accept again. She nodded. "That's fair." We lay in silence for a while, and then I said something I hadn't told anyone. There was this one night. I caught her in bed with someone, and she had the audacity to look me in the eye and say, "You should be grateful I'm still your wife." Emily froze, then slowly lifted her head, eyebrows raised. "She said that." I nodded. Her eyes narrowed. That woman deserves to step on Legos for the rest of her life. I burst out laughing. The first real, deep laugh I'd had in months. She laughed too. That was the moment I realized. I was done bleeding for someone who wouldn't have blinked if I died inside. Now, I was with someone who didn't just patch the wounds. She helped me remember what it felt like to be whole. I wasn't naive. I knew relationships still took work. But the foundation was different this time. Built on honesty, mutual respect, actual love, not performance. And most of all, choice. I chose her. Not because I was lonely. Not because I needed to fill the space Haley left behind. But because, for the first time in a long time, I wanted to. And that made all the difference. A year later, I stood in front of a mirror. Same man, same eyes, but a completely different presence behind them. The divorce had long been finalized. Haley's name was nothing more than a closed file in my lawyer's cabinet. I hadn't seen or heard from her since that last attempt to rope me into her performative guilt tour, and I liked it that way. There were no more phantom aches. No more waking up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, unsure if I was still in that nightmare. No more rereading her texts, trying to make sense of the senseless. The ghost of her was gone, not exorcised with fire or rage, but faded, quietly, like smoke clearing from a room I didn't realize was filled with poison. Emily was asleep in the other room, curled up next to the dog I'd gotten after the divorce. Buddy, a golden retriever who listened better than most people I'd ever met. And somehow, even that image, her, in my home, peaceful and present, felt like something sacred, something earned. Sometimes, you don't realize how badly you've been starved until someone finally feeds you the real thing. I never told Emily everything. Not the full depth of how broken I'd been, or how many times I'd questioned if I was even lovable anymore. But she never needed all the details to love me anyway. She showed up, over and over, with patience, with humor, with kindness, with truth. And truth, that's the one thing Haley could never give. Looking back, I don't regret it. Not the marriage, not the pain, not even catching her in our bed with someone else. Because as twisted as it sounds, I needed it. I needed to see who she really was so I could finally learn who I was. I used to think betrayal broke me. Now I know, it revealed me. It showed me the cracks in my boundaries, the holes in my self-worth, the way I mistook loyalty for love and silence for peace. It showed me how far I'd been willing to shrink just to keep someone who never deserved me in the first place. And now, I'm done shrinking. I'm done apologizing for expecting respect, for asking for honesty, for needing someone who doesn't just want my presence, but values my heart. If there's any advice I'd give to the next guy who finds himself in that same moment I did, standing at the door, tiramisu in hand, hearing laughter upstairs, it's this. Don't beg. Don't break. Don't bargain. Walk away with your dignity intact, even if your heart is in pieces. Because dignity will rebuild you faster than denial ever could. And no matter how convincing the performance, no matter how sweet the lies, no matter how long you've loved her, a woman who tells you to be grateful she's still your wife while she's in another man's arms is already gone. You're not losing her. You're escaping her. One day, like me, you'll sit across from someone who actually sees you, who chooses you, not out of obligation, not out of convenience, but out of real, raw, human love. And when that day comes, you'll realize she did you a favor. She stood in the doorway, one hand on her hip, the other holding a suitcase. I'm pregnant, she said coldly. But it's his, James, not yours. That sentence carved a canyon through my chest. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even emotional. Melissa, the woman I'd spent the last 6 years building a life with, looked at me like I was a piece of furniture she no longer needed. Something worn. Something replaceable. I need you gone by tonight, she added. Brandon's moving in tomorrow. Brandon. The name hit like a slap. I'd heard it before. I'd seen it in her phone, half hidden under saved contacts with emojis. I saw the briefcase Brandon text threads. She told me he was her new project manager. Said he was nothing to worry about. That I was acting insecure. Guess I should have been worried after all. Brandon's not taking care of your kid, I muttered. It was the only thing I could say. You're going to throw all this away for some corporate clown with a leased car and veneers? Melissa smirked. He's got a real plan. He's ambitious. You just exist, James. You work in tech support and play Xbox. I want more. There was no yelling, no crying, no begging. I didn't give her that. I packed my things silently while she FaceTimed Brandon from the kitchen like I was already gone. I could hear them laughing about curtain colors. She told him she wanted to paint over the depressing gray in the bedroom. My bedroom. My walls. When I left, it was raining. No umbrella. Just a duffel bag and a hoodie soaked through before I made it to the curb. The Uber driver didn't ask questions, but I saw the pity in his rearview mirror. That was 3 years ago. 3 years of couch surfing. Grinding. Clawing my way out of the hole she threw me into. I got serious about my freelance work. Landed some tech contracts that turned into real money. I stopped drinking. Started running. Grew a spine. But I never forgot her face in that doorway. The fake sympathy. The way she said pregnant like it was a death sentence for my relevance. Last week, I got an unexpected invitation. A media company I consult for was throwing a launch party in LA. Red carpet. Press. Investors. They asked me to speak about digital transformation in emerging markets. I agreed. I had no idea who else would be on the guest list. That night, I stepped out of a black Escalade wearing a suit that cost more than my old rent. Cameras flashed. My name hit the announcer's mic. And then I saw her. Melissa. On the arm of Brandon, of course. Except he looked thinner now. Paler. Hairline retreating like a scared soldier. Melissa's dress was clinging too tight in all the wrong places, like she was trying to squeeze herself into the woman she used to be. Our eyes met. Her smile froze. Brandon's hand tightened on hers. She didn't expect me there. She didn't expect me to look better. She sure as hell didn't expect the host to pull me onto the stage, announce my name with a title even I wasn't used to hearing yet. Tech visionary. Multi-million-dollar investor. Founder of Apex Grid Systems. James Carson. The spotlight hit me, and I smiled. Not at the cameras, at her. You see, the baby she left me for? Never existed. That lie was just the final blade she used to cut me down. But I didn't stay down. This is the story of how I rose. And how she crumbled. And it all started the moment she kicked me out. They say betrayal doesn't happen in a moment. It builds like pressure behind a dam. And eventually, when that dam cracks, everything comes rushing out at once. The signs were there. I just didn't want to read them. Melissa used to be warm, funny, playful. We'd binge-watch late-night shows together, roast each other's playlists, fall asleep with our legs tangled under one blanket. Then, like a switch flipped, she became cold, distant. Her phone lived face down. Her smile? Gone, replaced by polite nods and strained silences. At first, I thought it was stress. Work. Hormones. Maybe she was just tired. But then she started staying out later, always with a different excuse. Girls' night. Yoga class. Networking mixer. But her perfume smelled like cologne, and she never brought home any yoga mats. I remember one night in particular. She came home past midnight. I was still awake, sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll my phone. When she walked in, I could smell alcohol and something else, something male. Her lipstick was smeared, and she avoided my eyes. Where were you? I asked. Out, she said flatly, dropping her heels by the door. Out where? She grabbed a water bottle from the fridge, not answering. I pressed again. Melissa. She finally turned and snapped. Why do you always need to know everything? I'm not a child. No, you're my wife, I said. You don't come home at 1 a.m. wearing a stranger's cologne without an explanation. Her eyes narrowed. Are you accusing me of something? At that moment, I backed off. I gaslit myself. Thought maybe I was overreacting. But I couldn't shake the pit in my stomach. The next day, I took matters into my own hands. I'd never gone through her phone before. I hated the idea of it. But I had this weight in my chest I couldn't carry anymore. When she left for a meeting that Saturday, I opened her laptop, same iCloud, synced like clockwork. She never expected me to look there. That's when I saw the truth. Messages, photos, videos. Not one mistake. Not one night. This was a full-blown, coordinated betrayal. It had been going on for months. His name was Brandon Whitmore. Some guy she met at a product launch. Mid-level marketing exec. Looked like a gym rat with a LinkedIn profile. Their messages were full of inside jokes, dinner plans, late-night selfies, and worse. She even sent him pictures from our bed. My bed. The part that hit the hardest wasn't even the infidelity, it was the way she spoke about me. He still thinks we're solid. Poor guy. I might fake a pregnancy. That'll speed it up. I swear, I die a little inside every time he touches me. That last one? That one shattered something deep. I closed the laptop slowly, hands shaking. My heart wasn't beating, it was thudding, loud and ugly, like a drum signaling war. I sat in silence for an hour. The man I thought I was, husband, provider, friend, was gone. Replaced by some dumb, blind fool everyone laughed at behind closed doors. My marriage wasn't a relationship anymore. It was a performance. A lie I was too stupid to stop clapping for. When she walked through the door that afternoon, she smiled. Fake. Mechanical. Hey, babe. I looked her dead in the eye. Who the hell is Brandon? Her face went pale. Then red. Then twisted into something I hadn't seen before, raw, venomous, cornered. What were you doing on my laptop? I asked you a question. You had no right. I stood up. Answer me. She crossed her arms. He's a man who actually sees me. Who listens. Who doesn't hide behind spreadsheets and ramen noodles. I laughed. I couldn't help it. So you're blowing him in parking lots for emotional support? She slapped me. Hard. I didn't flinch. You're disgusting, she hissed. No, I said. You are. And I want a divorce. But she didn't blink. Instead, she said the line I'd never forget. Perfect. That makes it easier to tell you. I'm pregnant. And it's not yours. She walked away, humming. Like she hadn't just dropped a bomb that turned our life into rubble. She stood in front of me like she had all the power in the world. One hand resting on her hip, the other casually scrolling her phone like she was waiting for an Uber. And I was standing in the middle of my own living room like a guest in someone else's house. The silence after she said it, "I'm pregnant, and it's not yours," was worse than the words themselves. My ears were ringing. My pulse thundered so loud I could barely think. But even in that chaos, I remember every detail. The color of her dress, the wine stain on the rug, the smugness on her face, like betrayal was a sport and she just broke the world record. I clenched my jaw. "You're serious?" She looked up from her phone. "What do you think, James? That I'd lie about something like this?" I almost laughed at the irony. Lying was her first language. "You faked a pregnancy in your texts," I said. "What's this? A sequel?" She narrowed her eyes. "That was a joke. This isn't. You expect me to believe you cheated, disrespected me, called me pathetic to your boyfriend, and now you're keeping his baby under my roof?" She shrugged. "This won't be your roof much longer. I'm keeping the house." That made me take a step back. I'd worked 2 jobs for this house. I refinanced my car to afford the down payment. I laid those floorboards with my own hands. I stared at her. "Melissa, this isn't just betrayal anymore. This is war." She rolled her eyes. "Stop being dramatic. You'll be fine. You always land on your feet, right?" I should have screamed. I should have thrown something. But I didn't. Instead, I walked upstairs, grabbed 2 trash bags, and started throwing my clothes inside. She followed me like a shadow, narrating her victory. "Brandon has a better job, better vision. He's going to make something of himself. I want a man who knows what he wants, not some background character." I stopped packing and turned toward her. "A background character? I paid for everything in this house while you played around with filters and brunch photos. I covered your student loans. I believed in you when no one else did." She smirked. "Well, now I believe in someone else." That was the final blow. Not the betrayal. Not even the baby. It was how little I meant in her story. She handed me my coat at the door like I was a visitor who'd overstayed his welcome. No guilt. No hesitation. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said. "We're both adults." "No," I replied, gripping the handle. "I'm an adult. You're just a spoiled child playing house until someone with bigger toys comes along." She slammed the door behind me. I walked to the curb with nothing but a duffel bag and a shattered soul. That night, I slept on my brother's couch. I stared at the ceiling for hours, thinking about every moment I missed, every time I let a red flag pass because I didn't want to seem paranoid. Every smile she faked. Every night she said, "I love you," with another man's scent on her skin. She broke me. Publicly. Without remorse. She didn't just cheat, she paraded it. But that night, on that couch, something shifted. I knew I had 2 choices: stay broken, or become something she'd never see coming. So I started planning. Quietly. Patiently. Like a man with nothing to lose, because she made sure I had nothing. And that's when the idea of revenge stopped being a fantasy and started becoming a blueprint. The hardest part of starting over isn't the lack of money or the loneliness. It's the silence. After Melissa kicked me out, the world went quiet. My phone stopped buzzing. Friends who used to invite us to dinner suddenly got busy. People picked sides without ever hearing both stories, and they sure as hell didn't pick mine. Melissa was charming. She knew how to spin a narrative. And I was just the guy who couldn't keep her happy. I spent the first few weeks numbed out, sleeping on my brother Kyle's couch. He tried to cheer me up: beer, old movies, punching bags in his garage, but nothing helped. My pride was in the gutter. Every morning I woke up to a house I didn't own, a bed that wasn't mine, and a woman in my head who had rewritten my life like I was a typo. But something changed around week 3. I got an email from a startup I'd helped months earlier, just a casual favor at the time. Their CTO had quit, and they wanted me to come on as a consultant. At first, I was going to decline. I wasn't in the headspace for tech. But then I thought of Melissa, of her little speech about how Brandon had a real plan, and how I just existed. So I said yes. What started as a 2-week project turned into 6 months of deep work. I built their back end, streamlined their operations, helped secure a funding round. When their product launched, it didn't just succeed, it boomed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something other than bitterness. I felt purpose. And then the money came. Real money. Equity shares. Investor meetings. Conferences. My name started floating in rooms I never had access to before. I was no longer James the tech support guy. I was James Carson, co-founder of Apex Grid Systems. I moved into a downtown apartment, nothing flashy, but clean, minimal, mine. I cut off deadweight friends. I blocked Melissa. No arguments. No drama. Just disappearance. But life, like fire, spreads in unpredictable ways. A year into my new life, I ran into someone I hadn't seen since the collapse, Sarah Monroe. She was a reporter who used to cover local startups. We'd met at a mixer once, had a few laughs, but it never went anywhere. This time, we crossed paths at a tech summit in San Diego. James? She blinked. You James Carson? I smiled. Last time I checked. We had coffee. Then dinner. Then 5 straight hours of laughing and unpacking each other's baggage. She wasn't nosy or overbearing, just sharp, curious, real. She didn't look at me like I was broken. She looked at me like I was building. It was the first time I'd been seen in years. Sarah ended up writing a piece on Apex Grid, our vision, our growth, and my journey from rock bottom to reinvention. The article went viral. Investors started calling. Podcast invites rolled in. Suddenly, I wasn't just a name, I was a story. And that's when Melissa saw me again. I didn't know it at the time, but she was watching from a distance. Her perfect life with Brandon? Yeah, it started to crumble. He got laid off. The baby she used to justify kicking me out? She miscarried or lied. I still don't know. Either way, there was no child. Just manipulation. She tried to DM me. I ignored it. She emailed me. Can we talk? I deleted it. But then came the moment I hadn't planned and couldn't resist. A high-profile launch party. Red carpet. Media. Investors. And Apex Grid was the centerpiece. I was invited to speak. Melissa and Brandon? Also invited. He was freelancing for one of the sponsors, barely clinging to relevance. The universe doesn't usually give you second chances. But that night, it handed me one wrapped in velvet. And I planned to unwrap it slow, and in public. I saw her before she saw me. Melissa was standing near the champagne bar in a silver dress that was trying a little too hard. It clung in the wrong places, shimmered under the lights like desperation. Her hair was curled, overdone. Her smile manufactured. And then there was Brandon. Same guy. Just smaller. Not physically, no. But the energy, the ego, it had shrunk. His suit looked rented. He didn't have that cocky lean anymore. He stood beside her like a backup dancer who'd missed rehearsal. I shifting nervously, lips tight. Not the man she risked it all for, just a tired punchline. They didn't belong here. Not in this room. But I did. The host called me up halfway through the night. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a man whose story has inspired startups from LA to Tokyo, James Carson, founder of Apex Grid Systems. Applause erupted. And that's when Melissa turned. Her jaw dropped. Her glass tilted slightly in her hand. She wasn't smiling now. I walked past her on the way to the stage. Didn't even look at her. Just walked. And I could feel the heat of her confusion, her panic, trying to figure out how I got here. The speech wasn't long, 2 minutes, tops. I spoke about resilience. About how failure teaches you faster than success. About being underestimated, discarded, and how that's not the end, it's the spark. Every word, I aimed right through her. When I stepped down, Sarah met me at the bottom of the stairs. She looked stunning, elegant, understated. She slipped her arm around mine like we'd been doing this forever. And that was when Melissa approached. She waited until Sarah stepped aside to take a call. Like a predator who finally saw her opening. James, she breathed. Well. I turned slowly. Melissa. Her eyes scanned me like I was an artifact she forgot she once owned. I had no idea you'd made it this far. You look incredible. I raised a brow. Better than I did carrying trash bags in the rain? She flinched. You didn't respond to my emails, she said softly. I know. I just thought maybe we could talk. Not like, get back together. I miss talking to you. I tilted my head. Do you miss me? Or do you miss not being embarrassed that the man you tossed aside made it further than the one you chose? She blinked fast. Her voice cracked. Brandon's going through a rough patch. I smiled coldly. I'm sure he is. There was a pause. She reached out to touch my sleeve. James, you were always solid. Safe. I think maybe I didn't realize what I had. Correction, I said, stepping back. You did realize. You just didn't care. She didn't respond. Her face twisted for just a second, somewhere between regret and rage. You don't have to be cruel, she whispered. I'm not, I replied. This is mercy. Because if I wanted to be cruel, I'd tell everyone here the real story. The lies. The fake pregnancy. The day you threw me out like trash to build your dream life. She bit her lip. James? But I was done. Sarah came back, phone tucked away, and slipped her arm back through mine. I looked at Melissa one last time. You made your choice, I said. Now live in it. And we walked away. I didn't look back, but I could feel her burning. The party didn't end that night. At least not for me. After we left the red carpet and the velvet-lit ballroom, Sarah and I went up to the rooftop bar of the hotel. City lights flickered like stars that finally understood what they were meant to do, shine without apology. The wind was soft, and my glass clinked gently against hers. She smiled. You handled that better than I would have. I exhaled, finally letting my shoulders drop. You think? She nodded. You didn't need revenge. You became the reason she regrets everything. That's louder than anything you could have said. I didn't reply. I just let that sit. Because as much as I wanted to agree with her, part of me still burned. Not out of hatred, but clarity. The turning point wasn't the speech. It wasn't even seeing Melissa's face crack under the weight of her own decisions. It was what came the next day. See, after the launch, the article Sarah had written months earlier started resurfacing blogs, LinkedIn posts, podcasts. Everyone wanted a piece of the from rock bottom to boardroom story. I got offers, deals, invitations to speak. But that's not what made the next moment so sharp. It was the message. From Brandon. Subject, need to talk, urgent. I almost deleted it. But curiosity, that dangerous little thing, convinced me otherwise. He wrote, James, I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I did a lot of things I'm not proud of. Melissa, she wasn't honest with either of us. She used us. I thought we were building something real. But she's been draining my accounts, lying about work, and look, I don't expect sympathy. I just thought maybe you should know what kind of person she really is. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of this. Brandon. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I needed validation, but because even he finally saw it. Melissa hadn't just betrayed me. She'd played him too. Like a violin with broken strings. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. Then it rang again. And again. Same number. I finally answered on the 4th ring. James, her voice cracked. Please don't hang up. I didn't speak. Can we meet? Just talk. I don't want anything from you. I just need to explain. You don't owe me your time, I know that. But please, 5 minutes. The old me would have folded. The man I used to be would have rushed to meet her, desperate for answers. But I wasn't that man anymore. I met her, but on my terms. We sat across from each other in a small cafe downtown. Neutral ground. She looked older. Not tired. Worn. Like the kind of worn that doesn't come from years but from regret. I lost everything, she whispered, stirring a coffee she wasn't drinking. Brandon left. The accounts are frozen. My parents won't talk to me. I don't even know where to go. That's not my problem, I said, calm. Tears welled in her eyes, but no sound came. For once, she had no words. Just pain. I know what I did, she said finally. And I know saying sorry won't fix it. It won't, I agreed. Because this isn't about fixing anything. It's about living with what you broke. She looked up. Do you ever think about what we had? I leaned forward. Every time I open my laptop, step into a meeting, or sign a new deal, I think about how you gave up everything for nothing. And I thank you. Because if you hadn't burned me to the ground, I'd have never become fire. I stood up. And that was the last time I ever saw her. There's a strange silence that comes after closure. It's not peace, not at first. It's more like the moment after a storm when everything is still soaked, branches broken, but the clouds are finally gone. That's where I was after I walked away from Melissa for the last time. I didn't feel victorious. Not yet. But I did feel free. No more what-ifs. No more reruns of old arguments in my head. No more trying to piece together the version of her I used to love. That man, the one who held on for too long, was gone. And I had no intention of ever meeting him again. The next 6 months were a blur of movement. Apex Grid expanded faster than anyone expected. We opened new offices, closed major contracts, got a feature in Forbes Tech Weekly. I wasn't just a success story anymore. I was someone the industry started watching. And with every headline, I remembered the version of me she said would never be more than background. Guess the credits rolled, and I became the lead. But success, I learned, isn't just about climbing. It's about choosing who climbs with you. Sarah stayed by my side. Not as some trophy girlfriend or PR prop. She was my sounding board, my calm in the chaos. When I questioned whether I deserved any of this, she reminded me that building something out of ashes is the rarest kind of strength. One night, as we sat overlooking the city from the penthouse suite I once thought was unreachable, she asked me a question I didn't expect. Do you forgive her? I stared at my glass for a long time before answering. No. She nodded slowly, not judging, not pushing, just listening. But I'm done hating her, I added, because she doesn't deserve space in this chapter. That was the moment the last thread snapped. The ghost of Melissa finally stopped whispering. I didn't stalk her socials, didn't ask around, didn't care. She became a name from a different life, a footnote in my origin story. And strangely, that's when the real rise began. Not just financial, though the numbers were wild. I bought back the house she kicked me out of, not to live in, but to renovate and donate to a veterans housing project. I visited my old neighborhood, left a check for the local rec center that used to keep me sane as a teenager. I even hired a few guys who were on the edge of giving up because I knew what that edge looked like. But more than the deals and the interviews, it was how I felt waking up. I didn't dread mornings anymore. I didn't live in fear of betrayal. I wasn't constantly checking over my shoulder, waiting for the next lie. I was just living. Fully. Honestly. Loudly. And every once in a while, I'd run into someone who used to know us, me and Melissa. They'd give that awkward smile, like they didn't know what to say. And I'd shake their hand, wish them well, and keep walking. Because I had nothing to prove. That was her mistake. She thought breaking me would bury me. But all it did was force me to dig deeper, rebuild stronger, and learn how to set fires of my own. Without screaming. Without violence. Just quiet, relentless elevation. And the man she left behind? He never came back. They say time heals all wounds. That's a lie. Time doesn't heal. Clarity does. Purpose does. Living louder than the pain does. I didn't heal because time passed. I healed because I stopped letting the past define me. A year after the party, I stood on a TEDx stage in front of a crowd of young entrepreneurs. The spotlight felt warm, no longer foreign. I wasn't thinking about Melissa. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about what it meant to survive and then thrive. My talk was titled, "What They Took Was Never Yours to Keep." I spoke about how betrayal isn't the end of a story. It's just the plot twist that forces you to write a better chapter. I didn't mention her name. Didn't need to. Everyone has a Melissa in their life. A person who cut too deep, loved too little, and left too early. But I also told them something they didn't expect. I'm glad it happened. Gasps. Stunned silence. And then I explained. If she hadn't betrayed me, I'd still be in that old house. Still taking small jobs. Still convincing myself I was happy because it was easier than asking for more. Her betrayal wasn't a curse. It was the match that lit the fire I didn't know I was capable of becoming. After the speech, dozens of people came up to talk. Some shook my hand. Others cried. A few just stared, trying to process what they'd just heard. But the one moment that stayed with me came from a kid, maybe 19, thin, nervous, eyes full of something familiar. He waited until everyone left and then said, "She just left me for someone else. Took my car, my laptop, even my dog. I thought I was going to kill myself last night. Then I saw your talk." I didn't give him some cheap, motivational soundbite. I didn't tell him it'd be okay. I just looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You're still breathing. That means you've still got a shot." That was the truth. Not everyone gets revenge. Not everyone gets success. But everyone gets the chance to choose who they become after the wreckage. And that's what Melissa never understood. She thought she was writing the end of my story when she kicked me out. But really, she just gave me the pin. Today, I own 3 companies. I mentor young men who feel lost, broken, discarded. I live with integrity, not because I want to look good, but because I know what it feels like to be lied to by someone who swore they loved you. Sarah and I? We're not rushing anything. We build slowly, honestly, with open scars and stronger skin. And sometimes, in quiet moments, I still think about that rainy night. The trash bag in my hand. The silence in my chest. The way she said, "It's his." I used to replay it like a punishment. Now, I replay it like a beginning. Because it wasn't the day I lost everything. It was the day I became unstoppable. So if you're reading this, if you've been betrayed, discarded, told you're not enough, I need you to remember something. They don't get to write your ending. You do. And if you're lucky, you'll thank them someday. Not because they were right, but because they were dead wrong. And you proved it with every damn breath you took after they left. It started with a phone call. One I'll never forget. I was at my desk, sifting through quarterly reports, when the front desk patched a call straight through to me. No name, just urgency. Hello. Nervous voice crackled on the other end. Sir, I work in your building. Every afternoon, a strange man picks your wife up and drives her to some high-end restaurant on the west side. Same time. Every day. I didn't breathe. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even thank the guy. I just stood there, still, my hand frozen on the receiver, my blood turning to glass. That night, I checked her purse while she showered. Inside, beneath her compact and a half-eaten protein bar, were unsigned breakup papers. Her signature was missing, but the line was there, waiting for it. Waiting for her to make it official. No conversations. No warnings. No therapy. Just silence and those damn papers. Her name is Amber. And the man she used to love? That's me, Jake. We've been married for 6 years. Or so I thought. But now I realize I was married to an illusion. A glossy, venom-laced illusion with red lips and cold eyes. A woman who once cried on our honeymoon because she never thought love could feel this safe. Turns out, she meant boring. I didn't confront her, not yet. I made a call to my lawyer instead. Quietly. Strategically. I filed for divorce behind her back. We had no prenup. But I'd done well for myself, and I knew how to play long games. My lawyer drafted everything under a confidential seal, so that when it all blew up, it would be in a courtroom. Like a detonation. I watched her closely the next few days. She didn't even notice. She was too busy hiding her phone screen, too busy sneaking away for yoga, too busy whispering and giggling like a high school girl drunk on someone else's cologne. I followed her once. Just once. Tuesday afternoon. She said she was going to a spa with her friend Madison. Instead, a black Tesla Model S rolled up 2 blocks from our house. She got in and kissed him. Full lips. No hesitation. Like she belonged to him. He looked like a GQ reject, overroomed, fake tan, smug jawline. Later, I'd learned his name was Ryan. He was her personal trainer. The one she'd said was gay. They went to a place called Dahlia. Expensive. Intimate. The kind of place you book a private booth to keep your hands where no one can see them. I watched them through the window. Her hands all over him. The kind of touch that used to be mine. Used to feel sacred. Now, it looked choreographed. Practiced. I didn't cry. Not yet. When she came home that night, I was sitting on the couch. She looked surprised. Almost annoyed. You didn't say you'd be home early, she said, dropping her gym bag by the door like she hadn't just spent 2 hours doing things I couldn't even describe without choking. I just smiled. Didn't feel like the gym today, I said. She hesitated for half a second. Then she forced a smile, walked over, and kissed my forehead like I was some little dog waiting to be fed. And I let her. Let her kiss me with those same lips she just used to worship another man. That night, I dreamed of fire. Our wedding album burning in the middle of the street. She was laughing in the background, wearing white, holding hands with that smug prick. I woke up drenched in sweat, my fist clenched so tight my nails left crescent-shaped cuts in my palm. The next morning, I started preparing for war. But not the kind with fists or shouts. The kind where you wait until she's standing tall before cutting the ground out from under her. 3 days later, I walked into our kitchen and found Amber humming. She was baking muffins, blueberry, her guilt muffins. She only made them when she'd screwed up and wanted to fake wholesomeness. She turned to me with a grin that looked borrowed from a shampoo commercial. "Morning, babe," she said. "You want one?" I stared at her. The woman in front of me was dressed in soft pink cotton, hair braided like some Pinterest wife, flower on her cheek. You'd think she was prepping for a Sunday brunch, not scheming betrayal like a cartel accountant. "Sure," I said. "Why not?" She handed me one. "I was thinking we should go away for a weekend," she added, not meeting my eyes. "Reconnect. Just us." I bit into the muffin and chewed slowly. "Like a spa trip?" She blinked. "Yeah, exactly. Interesting choice of words. Spa. Like the one she told me she went to 3 days ago, when she was actually sipping Chardonnay with Ryan and doing God knows what under the table. Sounds perfect," I lied. "You book it." She smiled again. And I swear, I could see it, that tiny flicker of nerves in her eyes. The way liars always smile a little too long. Later that day, I found her phone unlocked on the bathroom sink. A miracle, honestly. Normally, she guards that thing like it's the launch code to a nuclear strike. I didn't even need to open her texts. The notifications told the story. "Ryan, you smelled like cinnamon today. I could eat you." "Ryan, don't forget the excuse you gave Jake." Love you. Ryan, wear the red one tomorrow. No panties. I felt my stomach twist, like it was trying to punch its way out of me. I scrolled further: pics, voice notes, hotel confirmations. She even had a list titled Excuses for Jake saved in her notes app. Number 4 made my hands tremble. Say I'm helping Madison through a breakup. Cry a little. The gaslighting. The planning. The level of manipulation was surgical. I didn't tell her I'd seen it. Instead, I went to the courthouse the next morning and handed my lawyer the final docs. Divorce. Lawsuit. Frozen assets. Full discovery. And a sealed motion for damages based on infidelity. He looked at me and asked, "You sure about this?" "I'm sure," I said. "And I want the court date expedited." Back home, Amber was on the phone. I stood by the door, just listening. "Of course I love you," she whispered. "I'm just figuring out how to end things without drama. He's so sensitive. I don't want him doing anything stupid." My jaw clenched. She paused, then said something that will stay with me until the day I die. "Don't worry. He still thinks I love him. He's such a sweet idiot." She laughed. I didn't move, didn't make a sound. Just walked upstairs, heart cold and quiet. That laugh, it was like a dagger dipped in acid. And somehow, I still wanted to scream why. But I didn't. That night, she wore the red dress. The one he asked for. I played my part. Complimented her. Kissed her. Let her walk out the door like I was some clueless husband watching his Barbie doll head to a charity gala. Then I sat at the kitchen table with a whiskey in my hand and the clock ticking toward Judgment Day. She had no idea what was coming. But I did. And I couldn't wait to watch the look on her face when everything exploded in that courtroom. Court date, Tuesday, 10 a.m. sharp. She didn't know. Amber thought she was headed to a brunch meeting with her friend Madison. What she didn't realize was that my lawyer had arranged for a process server to greet her with a gift bag full of reality, subpoena, divorce papers, and a nice little motion for punitive damages, all delivered to her cozy corner table at Dahlia. I wish I could have seen her face, but I had something better planned. You see, I didn't just want to leave Amber. I wanted her to watch herself fall. I wanted her lies to echo in a courtroom while she squirmed in heels too expensive for her budget once I froze the joint accounts. The morning of the court hearing, she was still asleep when I got dressed. She looked peaceful, innocent, even, curled into the pillow, one arm under her head like she hadn't been rehearsing breakup speeches in bed with her lover just days before. I poured coffee. Black. No sugar. She stumbled into the kitchen 10 minutes later, hair messy, eyes squinting like some cartoon of a loving wife. You're up early." "I have court this morning," I said flatly. She paused. "Court? For what?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Business litigation. Just paperwork." She yawned. "You're always so busy lately," she said, kissing my cheek. "We really do need that weekend trip." I sipped my coffee and held back a laugh. "You're right. We do." At 10:05 a.m., Amber entered the courtroom, heels tapping on marble, hair sleek, face powdered like she was going to brunch with senators. Ryan was with her. Of course, in his blazer and smugness. They weren't holding hands. Too smart for that. But the moment they stepped in and saw me sitting at the plaintiff's table, the blood drained from their faces like someone had pulled the plug. The judge called the case number. Case 11984, Jake Matthews versus Amber Matthews. Amber froze. Ryan blinked. My lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we're moving forward on the complaint of infidelity, emotional damages, and concealed assets. The defendant has been served." Amber turned to me, lips parting. "Jake, what the hell is this?" "Court," I said, ice cold. "Like I told you." "But this is insane," she hissed. "You blindsided me." "No, Amber, you did that. With your panties off." Her face cracked. Ryan tugged at his collar, suddenly not looking so tan. I slid a folder across the table to the judge. Inside? Screenshots. Photos. Emails. Hotel confirmations. Every disgusting message. Every voice note. Even the one where she said she'd lie in court if needed. Amber's voice shook. "Jake, can we talk outside? Please." I didn't even look at her. "You've had months to talk. This is the only place you'll talk now." The judge reviewed the folder for 3 minutes in silence, then looked up and said, "We'll proceed to emergency hearing for asset freeze and temporary injunction." Amber sat down slowly. Her eyes were wide. Her lips moved silently, like she was trying to summon a lie but couldn't find the words. She looked at Ryan. He stood up and walked out. Didn't say a word. Just left her there, alone. She reached for her purse like she wanted to chase him, but the bailiff told her to sit. She did, barely breathing. When it was over, I walked past her. She reached out. Jake. I stopped, looked her in the eyes. You built your little throne on lies, Amber. Now you can sit in it. Alone. And then I walked out. Didn't look back. Not once. 2 hours after the court hearing, I sat in my car outside our house, watching the clouds roll in. The wind was picking up. Rain threatened, like even the sky wanted to wash away the filth Amber left behind. She still hadn't come home. Part of me hoped she wouldn't. But I knew better. Amber was too proud to disappear quietly. She would come back, mouth full of excuses, eyes full of fake tears, still thinking she could sweet-talk her way out of this one. She walked through the front door around 6 p.m., soaking wet and furious. You humiliated me, she said, dropping her designer bag on the floor. You made a spectacle out of me in front of him. I stayed seated on the couch, eyes locked on hers. You humiliated yourself, Amber. I just turned the lights on. She didn't even blink. You blindsided me. You think this is how adults handle things? No, I said calmly. Adults don't sneak around like horny teenagers and lie for months. Her eyes narrowed. Don't talk to me like I'm trash. You are trash, I snapped. I just didn't take out the garbage soon enough. That shut her up for a second. She stood there dripping, mascara smudged, like some villain caught mid-monologue. Then she tried the soft voice. The victim voice. Jake. I was lonely. You were always working. You never looked at me the same anymore. I laughed, dark and dry. You mean I didn't worship you like Ryan did when you let him unwrap you in hotel rooms? She flinched. Then her face twisted into something feral. You think you're so perfect? You think you didn't push me away? You made me feel invisible. No, Amber. You made yourself invisible every time you lied. Every time you climbed into another man's car and thought I was too stupid to notice. She didn't reply. She turned and stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a wine glass and poured herself 3 fingers of red. Didn't even offer me one? Typical. I followed her, leaned on the doorway. You were planning to leave, weren't you? She didn't turn. Yes. I just hadn't signed the papers yet. But you were ready. She finally looked at me. Yeah, I was. And the plan was what? Move in with Ryan? Parade around town with your new arm candy while I sat here like some ghost in a house we built together. She took a sip. I didn't think it would hurt you so much. That line hit harder than any slap. You didn't think betrayal would hurt me? She shrugged. You're tough. I thought you'd move on. I didn't think you'd do all this. I walked over to her, lowered my voice. Amber, I filed that lawsuit not to ruin you, but to finally end what we pretended was love. You killed this marriage. All I did was bury the body. She looked at me for a long time. Something in her broke then. Or maybe it finally revealed itself. The venom she'd been bottling up. You know what, Jake? She said. Ryan was better in every way. At least he made me feel something. You're just cold. Predictable. Dead inside. I smiled. Good. Then you won't miss me. I left the room and went upstairs to pack. My suitcase was already half full. She followed me halfway up the stairs, then stopped. Where are you going? Somewhere you're not, I said. Don't worry. The house is yours until the court decides otherwise. I slept at a hotel that night. A quiet one. No loud TVs. No perfume on the pillows. No lies. Just silence. And for the first time in months, I slept like a man who had nothing left to lose. The hotel room was nothing special. Beige walls, stiff pillows, a minibar I didn't touch. But it gave me what I needed most, distance. From Amber. From the lies. From the sound of her voice twisting every memory into something false. The next morning, I stared at the ceiling for an hour before I moved. My phone was full of messages. Amber, of course. Jake, please call me. We need to talk. You didn't have to do this in public. You humiliated me. Are you proud? This isn't over. She never once said sorry. Not once. That told me everything I needed to know. Around noon, I got a call from my lawyer. She's lawyered up, he said. They're already trying to negotiate, but we're holding ground. You sure you want to keep everything public? Every second of it, I said. I want her lies under oath. I want her squirming when she has to explain why her spa days ended in hotel rooms. He chuckled, a cold lawyer's laugh. Good. Then you'll like what I just got from Discovery. Bank statements from her personal account. She's been taking cash out in small amounts for months. Looks like she was setting herself up for a quiet exit. Any transfers to Ryan? I asked. Yep. A few disguised as consulting fees. Amateur hour. I hung up and stared at the wall for a while. She wasn't just cheating emotionally. She was preparing to drain me. This wasn't a broken marriage. It was a heist. That night, I drove back to the house to get the rest of my things. She wasn't expecting me. Amber opened the door in a silk robe, holding a glass of wine like she was in some trashy TV drama. "You're back," she said, cocking her head. "Changed your mind." "About you?" "Never," I replied, stepping past her. She followed me into the living room. "I've been thinking. Maybe we can slow this down. Not rush into divorce." I turned to her, stunned by how far she could stretch her arrogance. "You want to work it out?" I asked. She gave me a half smile. "You overreacted. You always do. We could go to therapy. Reset." "Amber, you were ready to erase me. I saw the documents. I saw the plans. And now that Ryan walked out of court like a scared child, you're trying to rebuild your safety net." She didn't even deny it. "I made mistakes," she said. "But you weren't perfect either." I laughed. "I was faithful. I was loyal. I gave you everything. And you spat on it. Then you tried to make me feel guilty." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I didn't think you had it in you to fight back like this." I stepped closer. "That's your problem, Amber. You thought I'd stay quiet. You mistook my silence for weakness. But I was just waiting." "For what?" she asked, arms folded. "For you to hand me the match. And you did." I finished packing my things. As I reached the door, she said, "If you leave now, there's no going back." I turned one last time. There's nothing left to go back to. And I left. She didn't follow. Didn't call. Not that night. But I knew I hadn't seen the last of her. Bitches like Amber never walk away quietly. They wait. They scheme. And they burn bridges only when they're sure they can float on the ashes. 3 days passed. 3 long, silent days. Amber didn't call. She didn't show up at my office. No emails. No more pleading texts. Just radio silence. But I knew better. When a woman like Amber goes quiet, she's not reflecting, she's plotting. On the 4th day, it began. It started small. My office manager, Julia, walked in with a confused look. "Hey Jake, did you really cancel the Washington contract?" "What?" I asked, nearly choking on my coffee. "Amber called this morning. Said you were shutting down deals for your mental health. Told us to pause operations until you send confirmation." I clenched my jaw. Don't ever take instructions from her again. She has nothing to do with this company. Julia nodded. I figured. But she sounded so damn confident. That was Amber's game. Plant seeds of chaos. Disrupt what she couldn't control. She couldn't touch my heart anymore. So now she wanted to mess with my reputation. I changed all passwords that day, banking, company access, even my damn Netflix login. She'd used it like she used everything else. Freely, carelessly, entitled. The next wave came that night. My mom called. "Jake, honey. I don't want to alarm you," she said softly, "but Amber came by earlier today." "What?" She said she just wanted to talk. She cried. Told me you were going through something, that she's worried you might hurt yourself. I laughed, bitter and sharp. She's playing the victim card. I didn't believe her, Mom added quickly. But she left a note. Said if I care about you, I should talk you out of this madness. Madness? That's what Amber called my reaction to being lied to, cheated on, emotionally gutted. No apology. Just PR spin. She didn't want me back. She wanted control. The next morning, I received an email from Ryan. Subject: you win. The body was short. She's more venom than velvet. I didn't know she was married when we started. She told me you were separated. She used me too. Don't think I'm proud. I just wanted to say, I'm out. Good luck cleaning up the pieces. I sat there reading that line over and over. She told me you were separated. So even her affair was built on a lie. She played him like she played me. And when he saw her real face in court, under pressure, he bailed. He never loved her. He just loved the fantasy she sold him. Amber, the master illusionist. She still had one last move. The night before our next hearing, I got a delivery at my hotel. A box. No return address. Inside, a photo album. Our wedding. Vacations. Random Polaroids. And a handwritten note. We weren't always broken. I'll always remember the good parts. Maybe one day you will too. I flipped through the pages. Our smiles. Our fake forever. And suddenly, something unexpected happened. My hand started shaking. Not out of rage. Not grief. Something colder. Something final. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't angry. I was done. There was nothing left she could take. Nothing left to break. I put the box back together, walked down to the hotel lobby, and dropped it straight in the trash. Didn't even hesitate. Amber didn't understand that once a man truly lets go, you can't pull him back. You can cry. You can send love notes. You can rewrite the past all you want. But when the last bridge burns, all that's left is smoke and silence. The final hearing was set for Friday morning. Amber showed up 15 minutes late, dressed like she was heading to a fashion gala. Red lipstick, heels too high for a courthouse, and a confidence that screamed performance. She sat across from me, legs crossed, expression unreadable. Her lawyer, some guy named Clark with slick back hair and crocodile charm, leaned over and whispered in her ear. She laughed like this was a casual brunch, not the dissection of our lives. But I noticed the cracks. Her eyes darted more than usual. Her fingers drummed against her thigh. She couldn't sit still. She was losing grip. And deep down, she knew it. The judge walked in. No-nonsense type. Female. Perfect. Amber's lawyer stood first. Your Honor, we'd like to motion for a private settlement. My client believes these proceedings have been unnecessarily public and damaging to both reputations. My lawyer didn't even rise. Your Honor, the plaintiff insists on public record. Full testimony. Full evidence presentation. This isn't about reputation. It's about truth. The judge looked at Amber. Mrs. Matthews, is that what you want? Amber's eyes flicked to me for a second. Just a second. I held her gaze, unreadable. Then she blinked. I'd prefer privacy. Motion denied, the judge said. You've had 3 months to file for sealed proceedings. We proceed. And just like that, it was time. Evidence was presented. All of it. Messages. Voice memos. Photos. Hotel receipts. Her pathetic excuses for Jake list. Each item dropped like a stone. And then came her testimony. She took the stand, voice trembling not from sadness, but from the pressure of her lies folding in on themselves. I never meant to hurt Jake, she said. I was just lost. I felt abandoned. Did you ever express this to him? The judge asked. I tried. No, I said from the table. You wrote it in secret goodbye letters and moaned it into hotel pillows. Her face flushed. I made mistakes. That's one word for it. Her lawyer interrupted. Objection, emotional outburst. Sustained, the judge said, though I caught a flash of understanding in her eyes. Amber kept talking. Ryan made me feel seen. Jake was cold. Absent. Were you aware that Jake was the sole income earner? My lawyer asked. Yes. And that he was working overtime to support your shopping, spa visits, and vacations? She hesitated. Yes. So you punished him for providing? No, she said softly. I was just confused. My lawyer nodded. And yet you managed to lie, coordinate hotel visits, schedule time for deception, and transfer funds secretly over the course of 9 months. That doesn't sound confused. That sounds calculated. Amber's silence was deafening. Later, when court recessed for lunch, I stood outside the courthouse steps, staring out at the street. Amber walked up behind me, heels clicking against concrete. You're really going through with this, she said. I already did. She touched my arm. I pulled away. I still have feelings for you, she said. You don't, I replied. You have feelings for the control you used to have. She looked hurt. We shared a life. No, I lived it. You rehearsed it. She looked away. I hope you're happy now, she said. I'm not, but I will be. She nodded slowly. You've changed. I turned to face her. No, Amber. I just stopped pretending. She stood there for a moment, mascara darkening under her eyes. The wind picked up. A storm was coming. Fitting. I turned and walked back into the courthouse. Behind me, I didn't hear her footsteps. No more masks. No more lies. Just one last hearing and then freedom. The final judgment came quicker than I expected. The judge didn't mince words. She laid it out clearly, firmly, without emotion, just facts. The evidence was overwhelming, the betrayal too calculated. Amber's crocodile tears hadn't moved anyone. If anything, they'd made it worse. The court rules in favor of the plaintiff, the judge said. Division of assets will reflect the breach of marital fidelity. All joint accounts frozen. Property awarded to Mr. Matthews. Alimony denied. Amber sat there in shock, her mouth slightly open, as if she'd misheard. She hadn't. Her castle of lies had finally collapsed. Not with a scream, but with silence. After court adjourned, I didn't linger. I walked straight out the doors, down the courthouse steps, into the cool afternoon light. It felt cleaner out here, like breathing fresh air after being locked in a burning house. Amber chased me down the steps. Jake. Wait, Just wait. I turned. Slowly. Calmly. What? Amber. Her voice was shaking now. The courtroom poise gone. I can't believe this. You should believe it, I said. This was all yours. Every crack, every lie, you built this. She took a step forward. I didn't know it would end like this. No one ever does, I replied. That's why you think you can juggle fire and not get burned. Tears welled in her eyes. Real or rehearsed, I didn't care anymore. I lost everything today, she whispered. You lost me months ago, I said. Today, you just got the receipt. Her voice broke. You still love me, don't you? I looked at her for a long, quiet moment, then said the only truth left between us. No, I love who you pretended to be. She opened her mouth to respond, but no sound came out. I walked away. She didn't follow. I never saw her again after that day, not in person. I heard rumors, though. A mutual friend said she moved in with her sister, that she started working part-time at a boutique. Ryan was long gone, probably changed his number. She tried dating, but no one ever stuck. You can't build something real on ashes. Me? I didn't jump into anything. I traveled for a while. Spent time with my brother in Seattle, went hiking, drank beers that tasted like freedom, stared at sunsets that didn't remind me of her face. And slowly, something strange happened. I started laughing again. Not the polite, empty laugh I used during our last year together, but real laughter. The kind that shakes your ribs. I learned how to be alone and happy. A man who'd walked through hell and came out cleaner, colder, smarter. Now, when people ask if I'm okay, I tell them this. I was married to a lie, and I survived the truth. And when they ask if I'd ever love again, I say, only if the truth walks in with her. So here's my advice to anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story. If something feels off, it probably is. If someone lies once, they'll lie again. And if she laughs at your pain, walk away and never look back. Because the worst kind of woman isn't the one who cheats. It's the one who smiles while she does it. Amber was that woman, but she's not my problem anymore. I left the ashes behind, and now I build in peace. The truck was flying down the highway, the engine growling like a caged animal. My hands gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Every muscle in my body was locked with rage, but my mind was perfectly clear. I knew exactly what I was going to do. The second she picked up the phone, I didn't hesitate. You have exactly 30 seconds to get your lover out of our house. If he's still there when I arrive, my truck is coming straight through the bedroom wall. I'm not joking, Ashley. Silence. I imagine her face, the way her lips probably parted in shock, her brain scrambling to process what was happening. She always thought she was one step ahead, the one who controlled everything. But now, she was the one caught off guard. Then I heard it. Movement, sheets rustling, hurried footsteps. A curse. A muffled thump. The bastard was running. Good. He should run. The highway lights blurred past as I pressed harder on the gas. I had been gone less than a day. That's all it took for her to let someone else into my bed. The betrayal sat like acid in my gut. The rage kept me from choking on it. 2 hours earlier, I was just a regular guy coming home to his wife. Now, I was a man who had nothing left to lose. It all started with a simple instinct, the kind that makes your stomach twist, even when your brain hasn't caught up yet. I wasn't supposed to be home tonight. I had driven 3 hours for a meeting that got canceled last minute. Instead of booking a hotel, I decided to head back, hoping to surprise Ashley. Turned out, she had a surprise for me instead. When I pulled into the driveway, the first thing I noticed was the truck parked out front. Lifted, obnoxious, with cheap aftermarket lights and a no fear sticker on the back. My jaw clenched, a cold wave washing over me. I turned off my engine and sat in silence. My pulse was hammering, and I didn't know why. Maybe because deep down, I already knew. I got out slowly, my boots crunching against the gravel. Every step toward the house felt heavier, like I was dragging chains behind me. The house was dark, except for the soft glow coming from our bedroom window. My bedroom. I stared at it, my heart pounding like a war drum. Shadows moved inside. I couldn't see them clearly, but I didn't have to. I knew. For a split second, I wanted to be wrong. I needed to be wrong. I pulled out my phone and dialed her number. She picked up on the third ring. Hey babe, she said casually. Where are you? My voice was steady, controlled. She hesitated. Just for a second. Home, Why? Are you alone? Another pause. Longer this time. Of course. Who else would be here? I closed my eyes. Liar. I could hear my own breathing, deep and slow, as I made my decision. No yelling. No begging. No asking for explanations. She had already made her choice. Now it was my turn. I exhaled, my voice cold and final. Ashley, you have exactly 30 seconds to get your lover out of our house. If he's still there when I arrive, my truck is coming straight through the bedroom wall. I'm not joking. The silence on the other end told me everything I needed to know. Then chaos. Sheets rustling. A man's voice cursing under his breath. Movement, scrambling, as if someone was desperately trying to pull their pants on. I hung up. Then I got back in my truck and floored it. Now, as the house came into view, I saw the other guy's truck still in the driveway, the exhaust spewing smoke as he fumbled with his keys. Not fast enough. I skidded to a stop, gravel spraying everywhere. Before the dust could settle, I was out of the truck. The front door swung open, and there she was. Ashley. She stood barefoot in the doorway, wearing nothing but a t-shirt, not mine. Her hair was messy, her cheeks flushed, and her expression was somewhere between guilt and arrogance. Ethan, wait. I walked past her like she wasn't even there. He was halfway out the bedroom, his belt still unbuckled, looking at me like a deer caught in headlights. I didn't slow down. My fist connected with his jaw before he could finish whatever pathetic excuse was forming in his mouth. He stumbled back, tripping over the bed, crashing to the floor. Ashley screamed, grabbing my arm. Ethan, stop! You're overreacting. I shook her off like she was nothing. Overreacting? She really had the nerve to stand there and say that. The guy groaned, trying to push himself up. I grabbed his collar and yanked him forward until our faces were inches apart. You have 5 seconds to get out of my house, I said, my voice deadly calm. If you're still here when I count to 5, you're leaving in an ambulance. His eyes darted to Ashley, looking for help. She said nothing. Coward. I shoved him backward, and he didn't hesitate this time. He stumbled toward the door, still fumbling with his belt. The second he made it outside, he sprinted to his truck, tires screeching as he tore down the street. And just like that, he was gone. Silence settled in the house. Ashley stood there, her arms crossed, her expression shifting from shock to something else, defiance. Ethan, can we just talk? I turned to her, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Talk, I repeated, my voice hollow. You think there's anything left to say? She sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes. It's not like that. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You have 10 seconds to tell me the truth before I walk out that door and never come back. She licked her lips, her eyes flickering with something unreadable. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to spin this in her favor. Then she shrugged. Fina, you want the truth? I haven't been happy for a long time. The words hit like a slap. Not because they hurt, but because I knew, without a doubt, they were just another excuse. Another lie to justify what she did. I took a slow breath. Neither have I. But at least I wasn't screwing someone else over it. She had no response to that. For the first time in years, I saw her for what she really was. And for the first time in years, I knew exactly what I had to do. Walk away. Ashley's arms were still crossed as she watched me, waiting for my reaction. Waiting for me to lose control. To yell. To break something. But I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. I wasn't here to fight for her. Or for this marriage. That ended the moment I heard another man scrambling to get out of my bed. You haven't been happy? I repeated, my voice low, controlled. And somehow, the answer to that was screwing some random guy in our house. She rolled her eyes, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. It's not just some random guy, Ethan. I took a slow breath, clenching my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might crack. I don't give a damn who he is, Ashley. What matters is what you did. And the fact that you're standing here acting like it's my fault. She scoffed. I never said that. You didn't have to. I gestured around, my voice dripping with disgust. The moment I pulled into this driveway and saw some idiot's truck sitting outside, you stopped being my wife. The second I heard him running out of our room, you stopped being worth my time. Her nostrils flared, her eyes narrowing. So that's it? You're just gonna walk away? After everything we've been through? I let out a humorless laugh. You already walked away, Ashley. I'm just catching up. The air between us was thick, suffocating. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out her next move. She wasn't apologizing, wasn't crying, she wasn't sorry. And that was the most pathetic part of all. I knew you'd react like this, she muttered under her breath. That made me pause. Excuse me? She lifted her chin, her expression turning defensive. You're acting like a damn caveman. Like punching him and storming out is going to fix anything. I stared at her, stunned by the sheer arrogance. Fix anything? I repeated. Ashley, there's nothing left to fix. She let out an exaggerated sigh, as if she was the one exhausted by all of this. You don't get it. Oh, I get it, I snapped. I get that you've been lying to my face for who knows how long. I get that you didn't have the decency to just tell me you were unhappy. And I get that you're so damn selfish you didn't even think you'd get caught. She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. I didn't plan for this to happen, Ethan. Another lie. Another excuse. I shook my head, laughing under my breath. You planned every part of it. You planned sneaking him in. You planned lying to me when I called. You planned every second of it, Ashley. You just didn't plan on getting caught. Her lips pressed into a thin line. You're being dramatic. The rage that had been simmering beneath my skin flared back up. Dramatic? I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe, forcing myself not to grab something and break it. Not for her, but because I refused to be the one who lost control. You don't even feel bad, do you? I said, my voice quieter now, but sharper. She hesitated, and that told me everything. I shook my head. Jesus, Ashley, you're not even trying to pretend you regret it. Her arms fell to her sides, her posture shifting slightly. I mean, I do, but what? She exhaled, frustrated. I don't know. Things between us have been off for a long time, Ethan. And honestly, I don't think you even like me anymore. I clenched my jaw. So, you slept with someone else to prove a point? She groaned. Can you stop twisting my words? I laughed, shaking my head. I don't have to twist anything, Ashley. You did what you did, and now you're scrambling for an excuse that makes it my fault instead of yours. She went silent, her lips pressing into a thin line. I'm done, I said finally. Her eyes snapped up. What? I turned and walked toward the door. Ethan, wait, she said, her voice sharper now. Where are you going? I didn't look back. Anywhere but here. She followed me to the porch. You're just going to leave? You're not even going to try and talk about this? I stopped at the door frame, gripping it for a second before turning back to her. Talk? That's rich. You didn't talk to me when you decided to bring someone else into our bed. So no, I don't owe you a damn conversation. Her face twisted in frustration. You're being a child. I let out a breath, shaking my head. No, Ashley. I was a child when I ignored the signs, when I believed you were still the woman I married. But I grew up tonight. She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked out, slamming the door behind me, letting the sound echo through the house that wasn't mine anymore. As I climbed into my truck and pulled out of the driveway, something unexpected settled in my chest. Relief. Not pain. Not sadness. Not heartbreak. Just the cold, hard realization that I had been holding on to something dead for far too long. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time in years, I knew I wasn't looking back. The truck's engine growled as I pulled out of the driveway, but my hands didn't shake anymore. The rage was still there, coiled tight in my chest, but underneath it was something else, clarity. I had spent years thinking Ashley and I were partners, thinking she had my back the same way I had hers. Turns out I was just another fool who believed in the wrong person. The road stretched ahead, empty and dark. I didn't have a plan, didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get the hell away from that house before I said or did something I'd regret. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Ashley. I let it ring. A minute later, another call. This time, a text followed. Ashley, Ethan, come back. We need to talk. Talk? Now she wanted to talk? I let out a bitter laugh and tossed the phone onto the dashboard. I kept driving, my knuckles tight around the wheel, the weight of everything sinking in. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the way she didn't even care. She didn't apologize, didn't break down, begging for another chance. No te has, no guilt. Just a pathetic attempt to justify what she did. And that was what cut the deepest. I pulled into an empty gas station off the highway, parking under the flickering neon lights. The place was deserted, just the low hum of an old radio playing through the speakers. I killed the engine and just sat there, staring at nothing. A few minutes passed before I grabbed my phone. Another text from Ashley. Ashley, I know you're mad, but this doesn't have to be the end. Just come home and we can figure this out. Figure this out? What was there to figure out? She made her choice. And now she wanted to talk like it was just some small argument we could move past. I gritted my teeth and typed back. Me, there's nothing to talk about. Pack your things. I'll send you the divorce papers. Delivered. I sat there, waiting for her to show some kind of reaction. Maybe now she'd finally realize what she had done. 3 dots appeared. She was typing. Then they disappeared. A minute later, another text. Ashley, you're really going to throw away our marriage over one mistake? I clenched my jaw. One mistake? That's when it hit me. This wasn't the first time. No remorse. No regret. No panique. Just manipulation. The Ashley I knew, the one I thought I married, would have been breaking down, begging for forgiveness. But this woman? She was trying to play me. She had done this before. My stomach turned, a cold realization settling in my gut. How many times had I been the fool? How many nights had I been working late, thinking she was at home waiting for me, when in reality, she was with someone else? I should have seen it sooner. The sudden changes in her behavior. The way she started guarding her phone, keeping it face down. The night she claimed she was out with friends but never sent a single text or photo. The way she stopped caring about the little things. The way she barely even looked at me anymore. I had been blind, and now I was done. I took a deep breath, shaking off the nausea rising in my chest. No more texts. No more second chances. I blocked her number and tossed my phone back onto the seat. Then I started making a plan. First, I needed a lawyer. This divorce wasn't going to be a long, drawn-out mess. I was cutting her out of my life like a tumor, quick and clean. Second, I needed to figure out my next move. I wasn't staying in that house. Not with her scent on the sheets, her lies soaked into the walls. She could have it. She could have everything. I just wanted my freedom. The thought of going back there, seeing her again, hearing her voice, I couldn't stomach it. I had no interest in another pointless conversation where she twisted the knife deeper. I turned the key in the ignition and pulled out of the gas station, heading toward the only place I could think of, Eric's house. Eric had been my best friend since high school. The kind of guy who would take a bullet for you and then complain about the hospital bill. I hadn't told him about Ashley yet. I didn't even know how to start that conversation. By the time I pulled into his driveway, it was almost midnight. His truck was parked out front, and the lights were still on inside. I knocked twice, and a few seconds later, the door swung open. Eric stood there in his sweatpants and a faded Metallica shirt, blinking at me like he wasn't sure if I was real. Dude, what the hell are you doing here? I let out a long breath. Ashley's cheating on me. His face changed in an instant. A flash of confusion, then realization, then rage. No F asterisk 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 ing way. I nodded, stepping past him into the house. The place was a mess. Empty beer cans on the coffee table, a half-eaten pizza on the counter. I didn't care. It felt more like home than my own house did right now. Eric shut the door behind me and rubbed a hand over his face. Tell me everything. I dropped onto the couch, the exhaustion finally catching up to me. Got home early. Found some guy's truck in my driveway. Called her, and she lied straight to my face while he was still in our bed. Eric let out a slow whistle. You kick his ass? Put him on the ground. He grinned. Good. Then his expression darkened. What did she say? I exhaled. Nothing that mattered. She doesn't even care, man. No tears, no begging. Just excuses. Eric shook his head, muttering a curse under his breath. I never liked her. I let out a tired laugh. You never said that before. Yeah, 'cause you were happy. But I saw the way she treated you. The way she started pulling away. He paused. So what now? I leaned forward, running a hand over my face. Divorce. I don't want to fight. I just want out. Eric studied me for a second, then nodded. You can crash here as long as you need. I let out a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. Thanks, man. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. We're getting drunk tonight. I smirked. Sounds like a plan. For the first time since I made that phone call, I felt like I could breathe. I wasn't okay. Not yet. But I knew one thing for sure. I was never going back. The burn of whiskey hit my throat as I tipped back the glass, letting the fire settle in my chest. It wasn't enough to numb the anger, but it took the edge off just enough to keep me from driving back to that house and making a mistake I'd regret. Eric sat across from me, his feet kicked up on the coffee table, nursing his own drink. So what's the next move? He asked, watching me carefully. I exhaled, rubbing a hand over my face. Divorce. No discussion, no second chances. I just need a good lawyer and a clean break. Eric nodded, but his expression darkened. You sure she's going to let it go that easy? I knew what he meant. Ashley had always been the type who needed control. She played the victim when it suited her, turned things around to make herself look innocent. She wasn't the kind of woman who just let things go. She doesn't have a choice, I said flatly. I'm done. Eric smirked. Good, because if you even think about going back to that lying, I won't. I interrupted. That woman is dead to me. He nodded approvingly, then reached for the whiskey bottle, refilling both our glasses. To new beginnings, he said, raising his drink. I clinked my glass against his, but I didn't say anything. New beginnings. That was the part one hadn't figured out yet. The next morning, I woke up to a pounding headache and a dozen missed calls. All from Ashley. I groaned, sitting up on Eric's couch, the taste of whiskey and regret thick on my tongue. My phone buzzed again, and I stared at the screen. Ashley. I debated ignoring it, but I knew she wouldn't stop. What? I answered, my voice rough. You blocked my number, she snapped. I had a call from a different one. Then take the hint. She exhaled sharply. Ethan, can we just talk like adults? I don't want this to get ugly. I let out a bitter laugh. You didn't care about ugly when you had another man in my bed. That's not fair, she shot back. I told you. I wasn't happy. You weren't happy. This isn't just on me. My grip on the phone tightened. She still didn't get it. I don't give a damn about your excuses, Ashley. You cheated. That's all that matters. And now we're done. She hesitated. You're really going through with this? I already found a lawyer. I lied. You'll get the paper soon. Silence. Then she let out a humorless laugh. Wow. You really don't care, do you? I clenched my jaw. Not anymore. Her tone shifted, turning cold. Fine, if that's how you want it. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at the screen for a long moment, my pulse slow and steady. That was it. The last conversation I would ever have with my wife. And I felt nothing. No sadness. No regret. Just relief. 2 days later, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, finalizing the paperwork. I kept it simple. No drawn-out fights, no property battles. She could have the house. I didn't want it. I just wanted to be done. As I signed the last document, my lawyer, a sharp-looking guy named Harris, leaned back in his chair. You sure about this? He asked. I looked him dead in the eye. Absolutely. Harris nodded. Then I'll make sure she gets served by the end of the week. I shook his hand and walked out, stepping into the crisp morning air. It was over. Or at least, that's what I thought. 3 nights later, I was back at Eric's, flipping through channels on the TV, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something in my gut told me to pick up. Hello. Silence. Then a shaky breath. Ethan? I stiffened. The voice was familiar, but it wasn't Ashley. It was Rachel, Ashley's best friend. What do you want? I asked, my tone sharp. She hesitated. I shouldn't be calling you, but I thought you should know. Know what? A long pause. Then, in a low voice, she said, Ashley's been talking to a lawyer too, and she's not planning on making this easy for you. I clenched my jaw. What the hell does that mean? She's mad, Ethan. She thinks you're making her look bad, and she doesn't like losing. She wants to fight you on everything. The house, money, hell, even the dog. I rubbed my temples, my headache returning full force. Of course she does. Rachel hesitated again. There's more. I exhaled slowly. Just say it. She's been spreading rumors, telling people you were controlling, that you ignored her. That you were the bad guy. I laughed. A short, sharp sound. Of course she is. I thought you should know, Rachel said softly. I shook my head. Why are you even telling me this? Aren't you supposed to be on her side? Rachel hesitated again, and then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, because she did the same thing to me. My blood ran cold. What? She let out a bitter laugh. Ashley isn't who you think she is. She's been lying to you for a long time, Ethan. And I know, this isn't the first time she's cheated. The words slammed into me like a freight train. I had suspected it deep down. The way she handled getting caught, the lack of remorse, it all made sense now. How long? I asked, my voice flat. I don't know, Rachel admitted. But I do know this. Ashley isn't just going to let you go. She's going to try to make your life hell. I let out a slow breath, my mind racing. Thanks for the warning. She sighed. Be careful, Ethan. I hung up, gripping the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. This wasn't over. Ashley wasn't just a cheater. She was a liar, a manipulator. And now, she was coming for me. But she had no idea what she had just started. I sat there in silence, gripping my phone, Rachel's words ringing in my ears. Ashley isn't just going to let you go. She's going to try to make your life hell. It was like I had been free for 5 minutes, only for reality to slap me back down. I should have known better. Ashley was never the type to take a loss quietly. She had spent our entire marriage twisting things in her favor, making sure she came out on top, no matter the cost. And now that she had nothing left to lose, she was dangerous. I exhaled, rubbing a hand over my face. My pulse was slow, steady, not fear, not anxiety, just cold, calculating focus. If she wanted to play games, she was about to learn something very important. I wasn't the same man who had walked into that house 3 nights ago. I wasn't the guy who ignored the signs, who brushed off the warning bells. I had given her years of loyalty, trust, and patience. And now, she wasn't getting another second. I pushed myself off the couch and grabbed my jacket. Eric, who had been watching me from the other side of the room, raised an eyebrow. What's up? I looked at him, my jaw tight. I need to make a few moves before she does. First step, lawyer up. The next morning, I was back in Harris's office. This time, there was no hesitation. She's going to fight me, I said, dropping into the chair across from him. I want to be ahead of her. Harris leaned back, lacing his fingers together. You expected this? I nodded. I should have. She's a control freak. She doesn't lose. He tapped a pen against his desk. Well, she's about to. We went over everything. The house, finances, assets. I had made one smart decision early in our marriage. I kept our finances separate. My money was mine. Her money was hers. The only shared asset was the house, and I didn't even want it. Let her keep it, I said. Harris raised an eyebrow. You sure? I don't care about that place, I said flatly. It's a pile of bricks filled with her lies. She can rot in it. He smirked. All right, I'll draft the papers. Second step, damage control. After leaving Harris's office, I made a stop at my workplace. I wasn't stupid. I knew how rumors worked. Ashley was already running her mouth, painting me as the bad guy. I wasn't about to let her destroy my reputation. I walked straight into my boss's office. Ethan, he said, looking up from his desk. What's going on? I took a seat. You're going to hear some things about me. I want you to hear them from me first. His brows furrowed. What kind of things? I exhaled slowly. Ashley and I are getting divorced. She cheated. A flicker of understanding crossed his face. And she's trying to make it your fault. I nodded. He sighed, rubbing his temples. I won't lie to you, man. People talk. Just be smart about how you handle this. I planned to. I left the office knowing one thing. I wasn't going to let Ashley control the narrative. Third step, confront the past. Rachel's words still haunted me. This isn't the first time she's cheated. I needed to know the truth. So I made a call. 15 minutes later, I was sitting in my truck outside a small coffee shop waiting. Then I saw him. David. He was Ashley's ex. The guy she had been with before me. The one she had sworn was toxic and controlling. The second he spotted me, he frowned but walked over. Ethan. I nodded. Appreciate you meeting me. He sat down across from me, his eyes wary. What's this about? I didn't sugarcoat it. Ashley cheated. I'm divorcing her. His face didn't change. If anything, there was something like recognition in his eyes. I need to know the truth, I continued. Was she like this with you? David exhaled. Yeah. The weight of it settled over me, cold and heavy. She did the same thing to me, he admitted. Lit. Cheated. And when I tried to leave, she made me look like the bad guy. My jaw clenched. I should have seen it. He studied me for a moment. You wouldn't have. Ashley's good at this. She's not just a cheater, man. She's a manipulator. I nodded slowly. That's what I'm starting to realize. David hesitated. She's not done with you yet. I exhaled. I know. He shook his head. No, you don't. She'll try to ruin you. That's what she does. His words sent a chill down my spine. But at the same time, I felt more prepared than ever. I wasn't going to let her win. The storm is coming. By the time I got back to Eric's, my mind was clear. I had a plan. I was ahead of her now. She thought she was about to control the situation, turn me into the villain, but she had underestimated me. That night, as I sat on the porch, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I answered. I told you. Rachel's voice came through, low and urgent. She's coming for you. I exhaled. Let her come. Because this time, I was ready. The air outside was crisp, the kind of night that would usually clear my mind. But not this time. This time, my head was buzzing with one thought. Ashley wasn't done with me yet. Rachel's warning echoed in my mind. She's coming for you. I wasn't afraid. I was pissed. Pissed that after everything she did, she still thought she could twist the knife deeper. That she could win. I wasn't going to let that happen. I exhaled slowly, gripping my phone. What do you mean? She's coming for me. Rachel hesitated. She's building a story, Ethan. She's telling people you were aggressive. That you were controlling. That you. I closed my eyes. Let me guess. She's playing the victim. Yes, Rachel said. And it's working. She's got people believing that you were the problem. That you ignored her. That she was forced to find love somewhere else. I let out a sharp laugh. Of course she is. Ethan, I know you don't care about what people think, but you gotta interrupted. I just expected this. Because this wasn't about me. It was about her image. Ashley had never been the type to take responsibility for anything. It was never her fault. She had to be the victim, the one who was wronged, the one who had no choice. But this time, I wasn't going to let her rewrite history. The next morning, I woke up early, my mind already set. First things first, I needed to get ahead of her. I made a few calls. My lawyer, my workplace, my family. I told them the truth before she could get to them first. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I told my boss. Ashley is trying to spread some lies about me. I don't want this to affect work. He sighed. Yeah, I already heard some rumors. Don't worry, I don't believe a damn word of it. My lawyer, Harris, was just as blunt. Let her talk. She can say whatever she wants, but without proof, it means nothing. Stick to the facts. I nodded, gripping the phone tighter. That's the plan. Control the facts. Let her drown in her own lies. Then, she made her move. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I sighed, answering. Yeah, a sharp female voice came through. Not Ashley. Hello, Mr. Carter. This is Detective Mason with the local police department. Do you have a moment to talk? My blood ran cold. Sure, I said carefully. I just need to ask a few questions, she continued. Your wife, Ashley Carter, came in this morning and made a statement regarding an altercation between you and another man a few nights ago. I clenched my jaw. She actually did it. She claims you physically assaulted someone in your home, the detective went on, and that you made threats of violence against her. I almost laughed. Threats? That was rich. If I had actually wanted to hurt Ashley, she wouldn't be walking into a damn police station making up fairy tales. Mr. Carter? The detective pressed. I took a deep breath. Detective Mason, I'd be happy to come in and clear this up. There was a pause. Then, that won't be necessary right now. But I'd advise you not to contact Mrs. Carter in the meantime. I smirked. Don't worry. I have no interest in talking to my cheating wife. Understood, she said. If we need anything else, we'll reach out. The call ended, and I sat back, exhaling. Eric, who had been sitting nearby, watching, raised an eyebrow. That was the cops, wasn't it? I nodded. He whistled. Damn, she's really trying to burn you to the ground. I let out a slow breath. She can try. Time to strike back. Ashley wanted a war? She was about to get one. I called Harris immediately. She reported me to the cops. I said. Harris sighed. Not surprised. Did they say if they're actually investigating? Not yet, I said. But I'm guessing this is just the beginning. Harris was quiet for a moment. Then his voice hardened. Ethan, we're not playing defense anymore. It's time to put her on the ropes. I leaned forward. I'm listening. First, we file for divorce immediately. No dirás. No waiting around to see what she does next. We hit her first. Done, I said. Second, we gather evidence. Every text. Every call. Everything that shows she's lying. Do you have anything? I smirked. Oh yeah. I had texts from her begging me to come back. Proof that she wasn't scared of me. Proof that she wanted to work things out. That alone would destroy her fake abuse story. Harris sounded pleased. Good. I'll handle the legal side. You focus on staying out of her trap. I exhaled. I'm on it. Ashley's last mistake. That night, something unexpected happened. I was sitting on Eric's couch, watching TV, when my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered. Who is this? There was a pause. Then a familiar voice, low and hesitant. Ashley. Ethan. I closed my eyes. You really are desperate, huh? She exhaled. I didn't mean for this to happen. I laughed. Didn't mean for what to happen? The cheating? The lies? Or the fake police report? She went quiet. Then in a small voice, she whispered, I miss you. I froze. And then I smiled. Because this was her final mistake. She had gone to the police, claimed she was afraid of me. But now, she was calling me. I pulled the phone away and hit record. Then I put it back to my ear. You miss me? I repeated, keeping my voice neutral. Yes, she whispered. I don't want to fight anymore. Can we just talk? Of course, I said smoothly. Let's talk. And just like that, she handed me exactly what I needed to destroy her. I sat there, phone to my ear, listening to the same woman who just tried to ruin my life whisper about how she missed me. I had expected Ashley to lash out, to keep pushing, to drag this war into the courtroom like some twisted revenge fantasy. But this was pathetic. She thought she could manipulate me back into her trap, that I'd be dumb enough to fall for the same fake, rehearsed remorse. But the second she called, she lost, because now I had proof. I leaned back in my chair, keeping my voice calm. Ashley, you reported me to the police. Why would you do that if you miss me? She sighed. I was emotional, Ethan. You hurt me. I wasn't thinking straight. I almost laughed. I hurt her? I tightened my grip on the phone. You weren't thinking straight when you spread your legs for another man either. But here we are. She sucked in a breath, offended. Good. She hesitated. I don't want this to end like this. We were together for years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? There was the desperation. She wasn't calling because she missed me. She was calling because she was losing control. She expected me to be an emotional wreck, to crawl back, to beg for answers. But instead, I cut her off. I walked away, and that drove her insane. I let the silence stretch, then spoke slowly. No, Ashley, it doesn't. She inhaled sharply. So that's it? Just like that, you're done. I smirked, staring at the phone screen, the little red recording light flashing. I was done the moment I caught you lying. This is just me cleaning up the mess you made. She let out a shaky breath. I didn't mean for things to get this far, Ethan. I don't know what I was thinking. I could almost see her, pacing, trying to find the right words to reel me back in. But she didn't realize something. I wasn't the same man she had control over. I was already gone. I tilted my head. Then why'd you do it? She hesitated. Then she whispered, I don't know. And there it was, the only real thing she'd said to me in years. She had no real reason. No excuse. No justificación. She did it because she wanted to, because she thought she could. And now, she was left standing in the ruins of her own choices, while I walked away without a scratch. I let the silence stretch again. Then, in a calm voice, I said, "Ashley, don't call me again." And then I hung up. The final strike. The next morning, I walked straight into Harris's office and dropped my phone onto his desk. "Play the last recording," I said. He raised an eyebrow, but did as I asked. Ashley's voice filled the room. Her confession, her regret, her saying she wasn't thinking straight when she made that false police report. Harris smirked as he leaned back in his chair. Well, looks like you just won this divorce before it even started." I crossed my arms. She tried to ruin me. Now, I want her to lose. Harris nodded. "Let's hit her where it hurts." He laid out the plan. Send the recording to the police. Her false accusation? It could get her charged. Push for an immediate divorce ruling. With this evidence, the judge would see she was lying, meaning no alimony, no leverage. Nothing. Public damage control. I wasn't letting her destroy my reputation. I had proof. I had truth. And I was going to make damn sure everyone knew it. I smirked. "Make it happen." Harris grinned. "It's already happening." Ashley's last attempt. That night, I was sitting on Eric's porch when my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I ignored it. It rang again and again. Eric glanced over. "She's panicking." I leaned back in my chair. "Let her." Then a text came through. "Ashley, I know what you did. You think you won? This isn't over." I chuckled. She still thought she had a chance. "You're right. It's not over. It's just over for you." Delivered. She didn't reply, because for the first time in her life, she realized she had truly lost. 1 week later, the divorce papers were signed. The police had dropped her case, and Harris had sent them my recording. She was under investigation for filing a false report. Her reputation? Destroyed. Her friends? Gone. And me? I was free. I stood outside Eric's house, staring at the sunrise, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Eric stepped out, sipping a beer even though it was barely 8 a.m. "So, what now?" I exhaled, watching the light spill over the horizon. Now, I move on. Because for the first time in a long, long time, Ashley was just a name from my past. A week had passed since I signed the divorce papers. A week since Ashley's pathetic attempt at dragging me down backfired in her face. The false report? Dropped. The lawyer? Ruthless. The divorce? Finalized. Everything she thought she could control, everything she believed she could manipulate, was gone. I should have felt victorious. Maybe even smug. But the truth? I just felt free. The final conversation. I was sitting on Eric's porch, sipping a beer when my phone buzzed. One last time. I already knew who it was. I debated ignoring it, but a part of me was curious. I wanted to hear her voice one last time, to see what she had left after losing everything. I answered, "Ashley." She hesitated. "Ethan." Her voice was different. Not angry, not manipulative. Just tired. "You got what you wanted," she muttered. I smirked. "You mean I didn't let you ruin my life?" "Yeah, I did." She exhaled sharply. "Do you really hate me that much?" I thought about that for a second. Did I? "No," I said finally. "I don't hate you, Ashley. I just don't care about you anymore." Silence. That was the part that hurt her the most. Not the divorce, not the money, not even her wrecked reputation. It was the fact that she no longer mattered. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. You always needed control. You needed to be the center of everything. But now, I smiled. Now you're just someone I used to know. She let out a bitter laugh. "You think you won." I shook my head. "I didn't win, Ashley. I just left the game." Another silence. Then, in a low voice, she whispered, "I thought you'd always love me." That hit differently. Not because it was true, but because I remembered who I used to be. The guy who would have fought for her, who would have forgiven, who would have believed every lie just to keep what we had alive. That guy? He was gone. I exhaled slowly. I loved the woman I thought you were. And then, without another word, I hung up. For the last time. 1 month later. Life moved on. Ashley became nothing more than a passing memory, a lesson rather than a loss. She tried to hold on to her social circle, tried to repair her reputation, but the damage was done. People knew. They saw through her lies. As for me, I had everything she never would. Peace. Freedom. A future. One night, Eric and I were sitting outside, watching the sun dip below the horizon. So he said, cracking open another beer, "What's next?" I thought about that, about all the possibilities that weren't tied to her anymore. I smiled. Anything I want. Because for the first time in a long, long time, I was truly free.